Hello, I am wearing my Labor Day gear already, ready to go out. But I wanted to share an epiphany for many of you who look like me, struggle like me. We've been through so many hurdles in our lives that we've had to overcome, expectations from either our own culture or internal kind of hurdles. And I'm going to talk about that today. The external kind of hurdles I'm talking about are all of us were expected to be a good child. Some of us who were girls were told we were supposed to be boys. So we had that hurdle to jump over. And then ever since you were a young child, you probably heard from someone the expectation was to get into a good college so that you could get a good job. I met those hurdles and I overcame those. Went to a top college, got a good job. And yet it wasn't the fireworks and it wasn't the ultimate success that I expected because internally, I realized there were other things happening. By this point in my life, I had been going through depression and I felt this sense of darkness, of hopelessness, of just not being happy. Like Asian kids graduate from high school being very many things, right? Happiness is not necessarily one of them. I would say more than anything else, we have a sense of pressure of needing to achieve, right? And that's what I'm going to talk about today is despite all the growth I've had in my own personal life and in my own career trajectory, that one piece has still always been missing, which is I feel pressure. Even just a couple months ago, a couple weeks ago, if I relax for too long, or if I am having too much fun, that old feeling of guilt comes back, right? That feeling of, oh, shouldn't I get back to work, whatever that means. And for those of you who don't know, I'm already an entrepreneur. I am my own boss. There isn't someone else or a parent or a teacher or a supervisor telling me, hey, get back to work. It's in my head. And yet, this one thing has caused so much stress for so many of us. It's not that we don't have great jobs. It's not that we don't like people on our team. It's not that we don't have a supportive boss, but there's this internal hurdle that I've never quite been able to overcome, which is this feeling of I'm not doing enough. And because I'm not doing enough, I'm still not enough, whatever that enough is. And the crazy thing is that enough, whatever that is always moving and it's getting higher and higher. And so I started to realize even after I left corporate America, before there's many things you could use as a reason for why you're stressed out. I know in my life, I have blamed, oh, the work ethic of corporate America. Oh, it's my husband, right? It's the children, it's menopause, it's perimenopause, it's whatever. There's always a reason that I would have for having stress. But as I systematically removed these things, I took a course on money management. I took a course on scarcity. I took lots of courses and I've been inviting coaches to help me accelerate and grow in areas of my life that I know I need help in. Started with therapists back in the 1990s. I knew I needed help. And so I had one therapist to probably 7 different therapists for 20 years. And they showed me a lot of truth. And they showed me that I had anxiety and depression and I had abandonment issues and I didn't speak up and I had a hard time saying no. So I learned all those things. And I learned how to communicate. I'm a public speaker by training. And yet all these things didn't feel like it was still opening the door to freedom. And by freedom, the sense of peace, the sense of I have arrived, the sense that I have freedom to enjoy my life. Like that was never, ever quite there. Don't get me wrong. I went on vacations, right? I went on vacations. I'd go to places. I spend my money freely now compared to in the early days when I was first newly married. We bought everything at garage sales, right? I came from a family where we were not rich. And like many of you, we would buy things as cheap as possible, not because we liked it, not because necessarily we felt good about having it, but it was cheap. And so I had a lot of used things from Goodwill, things from garage sales. So I got over that and learned finally to spend money on myself. That was a big hurdle. Some of you who heard my original signature talk know that I spent $2,000 on a trip to Vegas, not to do something shady, but to enjoy Caesar's Palace, to eat, because I'm a foodie, to go shopping, because I always tried to save my company money before that, and I wouldn't stay overnight. And so that huge experience in my early 40s showed me I am allowed to spend money. So got over that hurdle. And so now I hire coaches to help me in my business for mindset, for marketing, for all kinds of things, how to do a course, but yet still something was missing. And there was this fear that I'm not enough. And I noticed I'm self-aware enough to realize that I was still measuring myself. Maybe not every day, but in the background, subconsciously, I was still measuring myself to go, hey, are you good enough yet to deserve happiness? Are you good enough yet to deserve the sense of freedom and this badge of I finally succeeded? And that answer was no. In my own life, being my own CEO, I still measure myself according to how much money I make, or am I the best known coach yet? And so this whole idea of comparison, and I thought, how do you get rid of this? How do you get rid of this feeling of still comparing to other people? How do you get rid of this feeling that I'm measuring myself and I have to keep excelling year after year, or somehow I'm not good enough? That was the final hurdle. And I want to share with you today, when I discovered this newfound freedom was because in the last couple months, things have happened where I have finally learned to stop wanting validation. By that, in the past, I have a really hard time with criticism, with people who are, in my opinion, people that I admire, having different opinions from me. I took it as a sign that I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't supported, or I was rejected. And when you're on social media, when you put yourself out there, there's lots of opportunities for people to disagree. And there's also opportunities for people to completely reject you and what you're trying to say. So something happened like that in social media, and I was down for a couple days. And then a really big event happened where someone I absolutely admired had a situation where I won't go into too much detail, but someone had complained to them about me, and the someone, actually, there's two people, I knew in my heart that I had done them right. And so there was this uh, moment where I had to decide if the commentary, if the feedback I was getting was really something about me, or if some of it wasn't true. And usually when I get feedback of this magnitude, I will crumble and I will decide, yes, it's my fault. I will side with them. But because so many of these situations happened to me in the last month, I finally built the muscle to say, hey, Jeannie, there might be some truth in this, but the reality is you know yourself and you don't have to accept someone else's opinion, especially negative, someone else's negative opinion of you as true. And I practiced this almost every few minutes because the shame was coming in, the embarrassment, the feeling of, oh, I screwed it up royally was coming in, and I fought that feeling. And that is what's finally helping me to build muscle. And at this moment, I realized this is what I want to share with you. Of all the hurdles I've had to overcome, the needing to get straight A's, having to get into a top college, overcoming my fear of saying no to people, learning to speak up in public, learning to speak up to high stakes individuals without feeling imposter syndrome, learning to not judge myself, learning to validate my own opinions of me versus some other person's negative feedback, being able to sort through that, and then being able to spend money on myself. Do you know what the root unifying problem is of all of these things? It just occurred to me and it hit really strong. It's this. It's the fear of wondering, what are other people thinking about me? I thought that was one of many things that you have to fix as an Asian American female to succeed and to fully feel the sense of self-confidence. There's learning how to speak up. There's learning management skills. There's, stopping the inner critic. There's learning project management. There's so many things you could do that you think could improve your confidence and finally get rid of the anxiety. Learning time management, did that too. Learning money management, how to have more abundance mentality versus scarcity, right? All those things, however, fall under the big umbrella of this one area, which is worrying about what other people think. What's exciting about this is now it means we have one core issue. I'm positive, one core issue for AAPI women, right? And for men, if you can learn the skill set to conquer this one area for the next 30 days, I guarantee you're going to see a huge spike in your confidence. You're going to see a huge spike in your leadership, in your ability to communicate what you really want to say. You're going to see a huge spike in you being able to be you at work and being able to be you at home. You're going to finally find time to exercise, because this also happened to me. When that one thing gets fixed, and you're not judging yourself, and you don't feel like there's this mean little imp sitting on your shoulder judging you. Shouldn't you be doing this? Shouldn't you be doing that? Aren't you being selfish? Once all that is away because of this one area, which is stop worrying about what other people think, if you can learn that, everything else falls in place. This is a pursuit I have had for at least 30 years, where I've been doing the right things in the Asian community. I've been spending money on the therapy and the coaching and everything possible, and meds even, right, to get this feeling of freedom. And it's finally just clicked for me in the last 2 weeks. And so I wanted to share that with you to let you know what's on the horizon. This is going to affect the way that I teach and train other people to more quickly and effectively and efficiently get to this place in your lives too, where that sense of guilt, the Sunday scaries, right? That feeling of, oh, I need to be responsible, therefore I can't also have happiness. Those are not true beliefs, but so many of us hold them. And they're the reason that we work so hard, but we don't get the fulfillment and the impact, and especially the joy that we deserve. And so if this has spoken to you, if you get what I'm saying and you've been nodding your head, two paths for you. I'm going to type this in the chat. Number one, book a time to talk with me. I would love to be your mentor, and I would be a good mentor for you if you've been nodding your head, because I understand you and I have been you. And it takes one to know one, right? Other leadership methodologies, other things that other people have gone through may not be the exact reason that you're struggling with anxiety and guilt. And so those are the two things. I call it my bag lady system. If you feel that you struggle with self-blame, anxiety and guilt, that I'm the right person for you, because I've struggled with those my whole life. And I put in the chat a link for you to book a time to speak with me. I'm free after Labor Day, Monday, and we can chat about whether I can support you and help you to start this 12-week journey that I've done with over 400 women to help you get rid of the sense of self-doubt, the sense of not being good enough, because that affects not just your career and how high you can go. It affects your personal relationships. It affects relationships with all your family members and your general happiness. Okay. And then number two, if you're not ready for that, let's say who this is for. This is for someone who wants happiness, who realizes that there is something within her internally that needs to click, that needs to change, so that you can be freed to be the leader that is inside you, to give her a chance to live. And at this 3-day training, we're going to teach you how to unleash your confidence, how to get clarity on what you want, so that you can start communicating in a way with influence and with visibility, so that people will see you and respond to your leadership. You can see how that's going to support you not only in your career, but your entire life. And it's going to help you with time management, because you'll start to say no to things that you don't want, and you're going to start saying yes to things you want. This is a core internal thing that all of us needs to learn, but no one teaches us this in school. No one teaches us this in our families, because it's not a well-known strategy. Our strategies are work hard and say yes to everything, and be good and don't complain. Those strategies got us this far, but they're not going to get us farther. And so to get rid of the self-blame, the anxiety, the guilt, and to up-level your career, book a call with me at that link that I put in the chat, so that we can have a 50-minute conversation. In this time, I'll help you to understand what the roadblocks are. And if it's something I work with and you're looking for a coach, we can discuss if we're fit and what that looks like. If you're not ready for that and you've never had coaching, which is most of us, and you want a taste of this, there is still a super early bird discount for that 3-day event called Free to Lead that I'm running on September 27th, 8th, and 9th. It's fully recorded, so you can come, and if you miss something, you can watch the replays if you sign up. And I would love to give you a taste of your own confidence. I would love to give you a taste of what it's like to have support in a community. I'd like to give you shed some light on what your true your North Star is, what your purpose is. And it's not a hard process. You just have to know how to do it. So we will come with exercises. We will come with inspiration. We will come with breakout rooms and community. We'll come with special one-on-one coaching. So you'll get so much out of it. It's just $47 because right now things are tough. And I want everyone who is interested in this and wants a change to have a chance to do this and to dip your foot in and go, oh, this is what coaching is about. And if you like that, you can decide if you want to participate in a longer training session with me, but that is still available to you. If you want this and you want coaching and want to do the free complimentary session with me, go ahead and book that time. Either way, I hope you engage, because when you feel the sense of hope and that door opens, it's time to reach out. Don't wait for it until you're so frustrated and tired and the door shuts. So I hope you have a great weekend if you're watching this over Labor Day, and let's give ourselves that hope where we don't just take vacations for ourselves physically, but we learn how to emotionally take a vacation. We know how to shut down our brains and get that full freedom, that freedom from self-judgment, that freedom from I feel like a failure. That is ultimate success, and that's what I want for you. All right, take care. Talk to you soon.